Alright, so today we are checking out Iron Maiden. A song I have not heard, believe it or not. Alexander the Great. My understanding is this is a fan-made video.
Ask for thyself another king, for that which I leave is too small for thee.
Classic Iron Maiden. Gotta love the use of the clips. Working well. Big, giant, long Iron Maiden intro. There's the gallop. Tone is so good though. Well, so why wasn't this like one of the bigger Iron Maiden songs? So you're wondering, like, old school metalhead, this dude, he's not heard Alexander the Great. Man, I hadn't. So this came out in 1986, the Somewhere in Time album. For reference, I was 9 years old here and had never heard of Iron Maiden in my life at this point in time. So I am a huge fan of Iron Maiden. I've been to see Iron Maiden live. It's probably the best show I've ever seen. I've got some of their merch even on the shelf over there. I've probably heard their top 25 songs 1,000 times each. I've probably heard number 26 through 50 100 times each. And anything after song 50, I might not have heard. I'm a huge greatest hits and a little bit deeper cut fan, but, you know, I didn't really discover Iron Maiden at all until, I think, Fear of the Dark album was the first album that I really discovered them on. Then I checked out some of their live stuff and their greatest hits live stuff, and you had what you want. Let's continue checking this out. This is obviously amazing. I don't know if I can ever say I don't like Iron Maiden, but this is just consistent Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden's also kind of guilty for just having their sound and replicating it over and over and over again over hundreds of songs. Some people love that. I'm one of those people I'm completely okay with that. I'm good if a band changes their sound, but I don't need them to, and I'll still listen to them forever. So I'm glad I'm getting to hear this. This should have been bigger. Gotta love the harmonizing guitars. very well done Iron Maiden chorus. And what I mean by that is I've heard it like 3-4 times now, and I can pretty much, sing it for you and tell you exactly where it's going to go. So far we're verse, chorus, classic metal. I'm loving it. Like I said, 1986 is when this album came out, Somewhere in Time. It looks like it was their first studio effort following the World Slavery Tour of 84-85, which I would have been even younger then, so I didn't know any of this. Apparently it was a really physically draining tour for the group. Lasted 331 days, which Iron Maiden still to this day is pretty big touring juggernaut. It had 187 concerts. The resulting exhaustion is credited as the main factor in the complete lack of songwriting contributions from lead vocalist Bruce Dickinson. So, apparently, none of Bruce's stuff. This isn't Bruce's stuff, so who wrote it? Was it Steve? So Dickinson had written several acoustic-based songs explaining that he felt that they had to come up with their physical graffiti, their Led Zeppelin 4. And then he wanted to get it onto another level, or we'd stagnate and drift away. Basically, he didn't want to just... Sounds like Bruce didn't want to just keep doing Iron Maiden's recipe. Yeah. So, Steve Harris wrote, of course. An interesting effect on the guitar. Delay, echo type. Don't ever want to say what it is, because somebody knows the deep history, and they know what effect was actually used, and if it's not the right one, I'll get destroyed. We know that. I mean, well done for a fan-made video, using footage. It's available. Helps us have, something that's better than an album cover. I'm going to continue the bridge. Well-crafted solo here. Not too busy, giving exactly what the song really needs. And I know I'm talking over it. Weird little break. I like it. Seemed kind of that transition from solo right back into lead seemed pretty abrupt. Of course, everybody got their guitar solo. I don't complain about that at all because I'm a guitar player, so I love that. But I was just thinking, like, wow, why wasn't this bigger? Well, you know what? I didn't know about Metallica in 1986 either, but the thrash metal scene in the United States of America was starting to really absolutely blow up in 1986. Obviously, there was tons of great stuff that came out then. Maybe we'll do a video on that someday. Looks like everybody was burnt out from this tour that they went on. Bruce brought a bunch of stuff to the table acoustically, physical graffiti time. We're going to get stagnant and drift away. Clearly, they did not get stagnant and drift away. I mean, some would argue they got stagnant, but they didn't drift away because one of the biggest bands on Earth. Steve Harris, of course, wrote. The record is also notable for the number of fully formed songs that were written by Adrian Smith, which is one of the guitarists, who wrote both of the album's singles, Wasted Years, which I know and love, and Stranger in a Strange Land, which I also love. So I know some of their stuff, clearly, but not this one. In comparison to those two songs, I get why this isn't like up there with them for sure, but this is really good. Very interesting. I did not know that Bruce Dickinson didn't have a part in writing, like Wasted Years and Stranger in a Strange Land. I mean, they represent it like he just came into the studio and was like, guys, this is greatness. And they were like, Bruce, that is poo-poo. You come back later and we'll tell you what to sing. Like, is that how this went down? Somebody who's a super fan of the band. If you can explain that for me, if you know, I'm sure there's more to the story. This is Wikipedia, so it might not all be fact. So, following the World Slavery Tour, they got 4 months to recuperate. Harris Smith and guitarist Dave Murray spent the time experimenting with new equipment. Result was a marked change in sound for Iron Maiden. So, what was the World Slavery Tour? Don't know what album that was prior to that, because I don't think they've got like 17 albums or something like that. Again, I love Iron Maiden. I'm not the top 5 hits, that kind of fan that, oh yeah, I love Iron Maiden. I've heard, Hallowed Be Thy Name, and that's it. No, I know a lot of their stuff, but, I'm probably guilty of knowing the top 3 songs on all the albums because they make it to the greatest hits playlist, and having 40 awesome songs by Iron Maiden to listen to has been substantial enough for me so far at this point in time in my life. But, I have been considering going back to Iron Maiden, and I genuinely thought about this recently, and just starting from song 1, singer number 1, and just this whole discography all the way through. It would take forever. I'd say probably 75% of the songs nobody'd really want necessarily reactions to unless you were just the super fan, but I might just do it because I personally wanted to go back through and just take the whole catalog in. Like 30, 40 years later, is it possible to go back and just become a super fan of a band that you're already a pretty big fan of? We might try that. I might do that. Space and time are common themes throughout the release. Songs such as Wasted Years, Caught in Time, Somewhere in Time, Stranger in a Strange Land, Deja Vu. I may have heard Deja Vu, I don't know. The band never intended for it to be a concept album. Harris stating, we certainly never went in there and said, all right, let's write a load of songs on the subject of time. With the majority of the release of songs disappeared from the band's live shows shortly after its supporting tour. So they basically did a bunch of songs on tour supporting the album, and then for the most part, after that tour, Wasted Years and Heaven Can Wait survived and made it to a lot more of the live stuff. And of course, the the greatest hits type stuff. There's so much to read on this specific song. I love the history of Maiden, and the fans just, I mean, every song's got its own Wikipedia, and I think a lot of bands are that way, but every song legitimately has, every album, I mean, there's a lot to digest here. So if you're a fan of Iron Maiden, man, kudos. I am. This is definitely an older band, been around for a really long time. This is some British heavy metal that was happening in the United States of America around the thrash time, when I would have been hearing this. But got to it a little bit later. I think I might go back to it now. This was a great song. It was a song that I can see why it slipped to like number 3, number 4, and when you have as many albums as they do, you probably can't keep it in the rotation of the touring, and then you eventually get into being a touring band. I mean, they're releasing albums still, but I'm certain that the number of people digesting the newer stuff is probably, shrunk over the years. I haven't heard their newest album. I'm going to hear some stuff on it, but I'm glad I get to be able to find some old, not quite thrash, but from my era of time metal that I can discover here. Love Maiden, always have, always will. I'm just a metalhead. Always have been, always will be. If you're not and you're watching this as one of my fans, check out more of this. Love to see what you think about this. This is different than a lot of the other stuff I've reacted to on the channel. If you haven't heard about Iron Maiden, I don't know what rock you've been under. You've at least heard about them. That's for sure, right? Well, I'm just a metalhead, always have been, always will be. Go listen to this if you want to become one, and if you are part of the Iron Maiden family. Man, I am so thankful you're letting me hang.